topic?
So the other one, so it's kind of funny. There is on Facebook, someone invited me to this group, and it's all about women protecting women who are dating. And it's funny because I brought it up to the guy that I'm dating. I mentioned it where a woman will post a picture of someone they're dating and say, like, does anyone know him? Can he be claimed? It's the crazy, and it's in a ton of cities. It's New York, like they're all over. The Atlanta, a friend of mine's on, hers in Atlanta. Another person I know is on theirs in Miami. Like they're all over the country. And there's that, like the group here has over 50 or 60,000 women, or people, I should say people. But I was telling him about it, and he's like, oh, like that just rubs me wrong. And he's like, why can't people just date? And like, what if the person just didn't necessarily get along with the person that they were dating, and like they had an experience, and now if they're starting to date someone else, immediately that person's like, oh, he sucks and blah blah blah, and now this person that possibly you could be with doesn't go or has a skewed opinion because of some stranger on this platform. And
then really I feel that guy's dodging a bullet, because if that girl's that feeble-minded and susceptible to one person's opinion,
right,
he's dodging a bullet. That's not the girl for him.
But isn't it, I mean, I do think it's so interesting how, like, I mean, I know that we've both been through a lot with past, but it's like if someone had been able to say to you, you need to be really careful, like here was my experience, would it have changed your opinion or changed how you navigated? Or
not at 24, no. But here's the other thing, and you and I have had this discussion before too, is I am the person I am today because of my past relationships.
Yeah.
And thank God. I'm like, thank God. And I am also fully able to articulate that my ex-husband was not the right guy for me.
Yeah.
But that does not mean he is not the right guy for someone else.
Someone else.
Right. Yeah. And yeah. I mean, because he's not a mass murderer, right?
Well, that's a really that yeah. Bar, I'm not sure about that bar.
I'm just saying, he's not
a mass murderer.
He's not a mass murderer. He's not a bad person. He's just not the right person for me. Right.
Yeah.
And that's true. So I'm even going to go out on this step. Did you happen to see the Tinder
swindler?
Yes. Okay. That guy is a red flag.
Oh, I take it back. I did not see the Tinder swindler. I had it confused for a second with what was the one, Anna something, the woman who was here in New York that was based on the truth. That's the one I saw. So no, I did not.
Same general, except for she was not swindling men only out of money. She was swindling anybody out of money. But the Tinder swindler was going for women. And I did see the documentary, and I will tell you, after seeing the documentary, I'm not going to say, I mean, those women, I like them. I like the women. Yeah. I wonder how they fell for it. Sure. But I don't think it's because I'm not willing to, I liked them. I understood they were trying. I mean, there's like, to me, I'm like, I'm not taking a loan out for a guy. I don't take a loan out for myself. I owe you money. If I'm going to take a loan out, it's to pay you back, right? So I'm not taking a loan out for a guy. But
no, absolutely fucking not.
Yeah, crazy. But these women did do that. And it is what it is, right? Like, I'm just like, wow, that's out there.
And hindsight's always 2020. And when you're in the moment and you're in love, or you think that this person is like your person and like they would never fuck you over, like you think they're, you know.
Yeah, it's all, and I'm like, so, and some of them were like later on, some of them were warned and they still did it. So you know what, I think and I'm gonna say this is not gonna come out right, but I'm gonna go back to the original question that you asked me about the man, a 50-year-old man and the 20-year-old woman, and I said they get what they deserve. That doesn't always have to mean horrible things, right? And I'm like, I doubt that those women that got taken in by the Tinder swindler are gonna fall for it again. And good for them, right? They learned something. They've grown
Yeah.
as people. So, you know, and this is also coming from someone who people make snap judgments about me, obviously, right?
Well,
And
everyone makes a snack.
snap judgment. And you know, I've been fired from jobs, right? I've been fired. So like, let's say that was same philosophy were applied to business owners, then people wouldn't hire me because I've been fired from 2 or 3 jobs or whatever it is. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm good at what I do. And I have a big personality, and maybe that's what the issue was, but maybe you can handle my big personality. Or
Right.
maybe you end up realizing I really don't have a big personality, right? I just want to get the job done. Or, you know, it could be anything. So if I show up on this "don't hire this girl" website, people could be missing out on this. So I think that might be true, but I also am not going to complain about people who want to err on the side of cautiousness, because that's who they are as people. And why is that a bad thing? That's who they are.
And if they have been fucked over before, and like some of them, it's so crazy, Sherry, like some of these men's pictures show up multiple times. And I mean, there's hundreds of comments. Like, you know, I feel like too, you got to take it with.
So that's different, right? That's
right.
That's a consensus right there. That's a consensus. This guy is fucked up. One guy showing up once, and one woman's like, oh yeah, he made me pay for dinner 50% of the time. Okay. Good to know.
And some of them, and you know what I will say, what's interesting is a lot of the time, and it's not even most of the time that it's like the hundreds of comments, that's like a rarity. A lot of the time, some women would be like, oh yeah, I went out with him and he was wonderful. We just weren't like a good match.
Yeah,
that's like, he was so nice, or I work with him, he's a sweetheart. Like it can be the complete opposite too. It's not just like, but it's so interesting. It really scared me a little after I thought about it and looked at it for a couple of weeks. It was like, it made me think of that show Black Mirror. Have you watched that?
I have not, but I know what it is.
On Netflix. So one of the episodes, it's basically like every single one of us has like an Uber rating almost. Like,
yes, that was the first one. That was the original episode.
No, the original episode is they are in England and with the prime minister, and he ends up fucking a pig.
Oh, well then no, I did not. I saw the one where your social media rating decided where you were on the real life scale. That one.
Yeah, and it's like the woman in the episode, if you remember, like is just having a bad day. Like she's out of like a 4.9 out of 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like this one thing that just keeps rolling and going. And it's like, holy shit, what if that, I mean, I know in my past, or even not just in my past, even I'm sure more recent, but like things that I've said that I didn't genuinely even mean necessarily. It was like either to get a response or I was just being a dick. But oh my God, if those were recorded, or if the people I was with were like, oh, she's a 1.
Yep. Yeah.
Like we're getting to that. Like that's real. Or even I actually, previous job, on your first day of work, all the people who were starting that particular day would get up in the stage and they would actually have every person pull up their Uber rating and read it. It was very.
I don't think me and my personality and my lifestyle and my philosophy and my belief system would translate very high on the Uber rating scale.
Well, and you know what? It's kind of bullshit too, because I had a really high Uber rating And I had 2 car rides with like I was the one who called the Uber, but I was with people who were like drunk or acting like assholes, and my nut rating went down. And it's like, but I personally didn't do it. But it was the fact that I guess I still brought my people into this situation, and the
Yes,
Uber
you brought the tribe. Yes. Oh my
so
God.
I got dinged for it. Yeah.
But really, are we? I mean, like again, like is that what dating has been reduced? No wonder it's so hard to date.
Oh, I know. But then again, I also think in a weird way, there's something to it. Like I know I had gone out with before I met the guy that I'm dating, I had gone out with a few people and who were on apps or whatever. Because during COVID, it was like everything was fucking closed in New York. There was no other way to meet people,
Right.
which is how I kind of got into it. And like, for example, height. I mean, it's so stupid, but it's like the number of men who say they're 6 feet tall, and then you
Yeah.
meet them, and I'm 6 feet. So I'm like, I fucking know if you're, I mean, I'm 5'11 3/4 or whatever,
Right.
like stupid. I'm closer to 6 foot.
Put
I mean,
shoes on you and you're 6 feet tall. Right?
that I'm abnormally large for a woman.
I
But
didn't
it's
say
funny.
that.
I am. I mean, I am. It's women who are over the height. I heard this actually on a podcast that women over the height of 5'10" are only 1%.
Oh wow.
But because you
So
think
that makes
about
you a 1%er, Freedom. I want to
I'm
point that out.
the 1%er, but when the podcast I heard it on, they were talking about climate change actually, because they were talking about degrees and how they keep talking about how if like the earth changes by a half a degree or 1 degree, the catastrophe, blah, blah, blah. And the guy was like, what's really hard about that is we don't think about it because you hear one and it seems so small and insignificant. But he brought that up. He's like, think about women who are over the size, 5'10", they're 1% of the population, but because the population is so massive, everybody knows a woman who's over the size of 5'10". So he's like, how do we get that message to people about climate change, that it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal because it's 1 degree, but it's massive. That 1 degree is like those women who are over over.
You know what we could start using now is people that have won $1 billion in the lottery, because it's happened. We've heard of them, but I don't know of them. And it's not me. You know someone that's won $1 billion?
No, I take it back. I think I don't even think $1 billion existed when he won. He won, but this was a crazy story. This guy won like I think it was like the biggest jackpot ever in Arizona. Like it was in the late 90s. So it was like million. It would probably be the equivalent of $1 billion, but back then, right? So like 30, 40 years ago at this point. And we only met him because when he won the lottery, he ended up buying a bar, and my mom ended up singing in the bar every Sunday. She played piano and sang. And fast forward, and he ended up coming to our house for Thanksgiving one year. And I remember asking him how has your life changed? What happened? And blah, blah, blah. And he had been homeless. Like he had been homeless previously and been addicted to drugs and all this stuff. And then he said they actually had support groups for people who were lottery winners because so many of them die within the first few years of winning. And I was like, what? I was shocked. I'm like, why would you die? And he's like, oh, you get family members coming out of the woodwork and blah, blah, blah. So he's literally telling us all of this. And I'll never forget that Thanksgiving because he brought us a gift for inviting him, and he brought a fucking bird.
A living bird?
Yes. A bird. That motherfucker brought us a bird to let. I still remember that bird. It was the most obnoxious bird on the planet.
You can't do that. You can't give people living, breathing things unless it's a plant.
He brought us a fucking bird. So, but fast forward a few years later, and my mom shows up to sing one Sunday, and the FBI or whoever had raided the business. Apparently he was not paying taxes. They shut all of the businesses down. They took his house. He had 2 or 3 houses in Arizona at the time, and he fled. He ran to I guess he took 50, 60 grand, whatever, in a car and drove to Mexico. And that motherfucker turned around and won the Mexican lottery for hundreds and thousands of dollars, which was the equivalent of millions in US dollars
Yes, it
at the
is.
time. And then he ended up dead within a year. And his mom had to fly to Mexico with his dental records, and they still couldn't identify if it was him.
Okay, that's scary. What the hell?
Isn't that wild? And one of
Yeah.
the last times I was in Arizona pre-pandemic, a friend of my mom who also knew him said that there were rumors that he was alive and well, and he had found a homeless person and they set this person on fire and made it look like it was him because he didn't want anyone to find him because people had been looking for him.
I can imagine. Again, I've said it before. If I'm doing bad shit, I don't want anybody to know about it, right? That's how we are as humans. Like, let me tell you all the crazy, insane, illegal, stupid things I've done in my life, right? Actually, I don't do anything illegal.
Just drive fast.
I drive fast. You're right. And I don't hide that. I drive fast. Try not to. Interesting though, because you didn't know him before he won the lottery.
No.
So that's what I mean, like, in that sense, talk about, just trying to articulate a small pool of people. That 1% is, I know people that have won. My sister won a nice chunk of change on a slot machine, or no, video machine, but still not millions of dollars. Not even.
My dad won 25 grand once on a scratch ticket.
Yeah, right. But just that upper echelon, that's a fine example of, in terms of climate change or in terms of tall women. I'm like, I do know a tall woman. Hello, I know you.
Well, it's hilarious because the guy that I'm dating, I always call him Shorty, and he's not short. He's 6 feet, or like we're pretty much the exact same height.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm not short. He's like, you're just abnormally tall. Like,
oh my gosh, how funny. It is funny, right? But are you gonna put his photo up?
Whose photo?
The guy you're
dating? No. I did think about it a while ago, but no, we're past that point. I don't.
Okay, so let's talk about the ex. Should you put the ex up?
Oh God. I had not thought of it.
I'm just saying. In this sense, you can help a woman dodge a bullet, right? Because that's a bullet.
It is. It's a bullet, but he
bullet.
doesn't live in New York.
That's true.
And the other thing is, I'm just so far removed from that guy. Like, I just don't even want to like entangle myself in any way, shape, or form. Like, we still have a lot of mutual friends, or like, at least I still have a lot of friends who, and most of them don't have anything to do with him anymore, because that just happens organically. Plus, he's gone. But even, once in a while, someone will be like, "Oh, have you heard about?" And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, no, I don't want to know. I don't care anymore. And it feels so
right.
freeing. Like, even today, earlier, I was meditating, and it was like, think of a moment when you've been truly happy. And I literally thought, right now, like, like, seriously, even though things aren't perfect per se, but it's like during that time, I felt like such a dark, heavy cloud, and I was drinking every day, and like, I was just so unhappy. And I can't blame him. Like, that was my own way of dealing with it, which was not healthy. But oh my God, that was miserable.
Blame, as I have said on many, many, many occasions, doesn't do you any good. You can blame as many people as you want. You're still in the situation. You're still have the fallout. So,
and it's our choice. It's like, it's like, I just started reading this book and I've only read a few pages, so we'll see how it goes. But it's all about how you really see yourself, or how do you see who you really are. I think it's random. I was just walking down the street, and they have those little book cubby things and it was sitting there. It was like the Dalai Lama or something. I was like, why not? You know, I'm sure it's kind of enlightening. And, but it is interesting because I talked to someone the other day and this person is just, and I have a couple of people in my life like this, and very small number at this point, who are just so fucking delusional. Like, don't have any grasp on what's really happening, like who they are, what their situation is, the world around them.
Right.
And it does, when I talk to them sometimes, I literally have to question myself, like, do I not see myself the way I really am and how I actually show up in the world? And I think we're all a little skewed in it, right? Like, there's no question. I don't think anyone's, and not to mention every person you encounter sees you a little bit differently too. Like, there's very many variables, but it's like, holy shit, just complete disconnection.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, no, I will not place my ex on that, even though I have a feeling it would be fucking hilarious. Because I have a feeling, I mean, when we first met, the guy who introduced us wanted to do a TV show with him where there was a divider and he'd be on one side and a woman would be on the other. And then the woman would have to describe him and how they met and their like affair. And he would have to guess who it was because there was so many, like he had so many women.
Freedom! Is this not a sign?
I know. And I even said that at the time. I'm like, I literally said to him, like, this isn't a selling point. Like, this is definitely, and his whole thing, and this is where there's the swindling part. Not that I genuinely actually don't think he was swindling me at the time, but like, he was like, that's who I was. Like, that was that's not who I am anymore. And I do think people change. I mean, who you were 5 years ago, I was 5. I mean, we do. And I genuinely believe that that's no longer who he was, but it was definitely a red flag.
Okay, but here, let me ask you a question, and then we're gonna have to go because I gotta be somewhere. But
yeah.
My question is, so the women on the other side of the screen, were they, because there's a difference between one night stands, which is what I did, right, and having a relationship. So you could have a guy on the other side of my screen that I slept with, and I couldn't tell you who he was. I have no idea. And that makes sense. That makes sense to me. But are these women on the other side women that thought they were dating him, that they thought they were in relationships with him, or are these just women he was sleeping with? Because there's a big difference there.
I have no idea.
Okay, because then it's not. If it's a red flag that I have slept with as many people as I have slept with, then you're right. I'm not your girl. I'm not the girl for you.
And I think, like, from my understanding of his situation at that time, you know, he was like mid to late 20s here in New York, maybe early 30s, but young.
Yeah.
Decent money. And I think a lot of them were one night stands or like women that he was literally just fucking, like just
okay, then
no relation. I mean, I think from my understanding, he maybe only had 1 or 2 relationships. That's
to me more, that's probably a larger portion of the population, actually. We don't like to tell people about the mistakes that we made. We just focus on those 2 relationships that I had.